And 3, and 2, and 1, and go.
Hi there, welcome. If you don't know yet,
Hello.
you probably will. I'm Lou,
And I'm John.
and these you'll find these videos all over the site. Going back, this is a kind of us talking, and we call them heart to heart, and they come from our kitchen. This is our kitchen. This is our coffee cups. And we wanted it to be as natural as possible. We don't come in with some sort of professional script. We just kind of have a cup of coffee and natter with you about all sorts of different subjects. This one...
So we would, our idea is that you would be sitting on the other side with your cup of coffee.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're trying to set up in terms of, the ambience and the feel for these things. So this particular subject, I think will be clicked on a lot, and it's should I stay or should I go? I have to say in my life, I probably would have had this on speed dial, listening to it every morning, because you're always in this quandary as to whether you should come out with a really radical solutions. So we have to say first of all that years ago, go was the kind of the advice, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
It was almost the only advice that was given.
Yeah. And we have a go, and that is we're very clear on this. If you are experiencing physical or sexual violence, you or your children, we would say go. That's our complete unequivocal advice on that one is not to stay if that's happening. Now we go out to all sorts of different countries, so I don't know what's the best thing to do. You go to a doctor, find a trusted friend or family member, because you'll probably need some support. But if you're listening to this and you are under that sort of dominant abusive behaviour, then we would advise you to begin the journey out, and connect with someone else, because it's really hard to do it by yourself. So that's our go. We still have a go and a get out. So we'll get that out the way, because we feel very strongly about that.
But we also recognise that can be very difficult for some people. It can be very difficult financially, it can be very difficult geographically, it can be very difficult emotionally. We understand that, but it's a strong advice. It's that if you're in danger, go. Even if it's only for a short time, go.
Yeah, if you are absolutely stuck in a situation that is very difficult to get out of, actually finding the program, looking at some of the strategies, will help reduce the harm in the situation. So we understand there may even be countries where there's absolutely no chance of getting out. But we do try to give you some help, and also to help you to reduce damage limitations. And there is things about that on the site. It's a tricky subject, really.
We set up this website almost in response to that. The fact that, when you looked for information about, living with a drinker, then all you could find was go. And we decided
leaving the drinker.
And we decided that, that we really didn't want to be either, see ourselves as sort of divorce lawyers or travel agents. That was not our interest, And we wrote the book, and the book was bottled up, How to Survive Living with a Problem Drinker, And that's when we sort of put the program together, and we put, suggestions.
Now, that is not negating what we said about getting out if there's really violent and abusive behaviour. What I think is trickier here is that there's now another definition defining of abuse, which is coercive control. And we're becoming really clear in this culture what shouldn't be. The problem is with a drinking behaviour, a lot of those things are there and present. But the reason why I didn't leave for a long time, actually, in the end, my husband died of cancer, which was another way of it finishing, was that I loved my drinker. I knew they were struggling with what was going on, carried a lot of shame. I also understood some of the reasons why they got there. And in between time, I lived with a binger. He was a good dad and a good husband. So there was a lot to try and work with. And so
Yeah.
walking away just felt as if I had, it's like looking at a really bad garden and thinking, well, I won't have that garden. I just felt, okay, if somebody could show me how to weed it and get rid of some of the brambles and plant some good stuff, let's have a go at this garden, see if we can get it nicer. So, that's why the website started, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
To help people in that particular
Sure.
thing,
Yeah, it wasn't sort of a survivalist website,
No, yes.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a tricky subject because putting aside violence and and sexual abuse, if you put that aside, then staying is very difficult. It's not something that other people can tell you what to do.
Yeah.
In fact, in terms of bottled up, we decided away at the beginning that there were no sort of musts in bottled up, apart from the safety aspect of it. But other than that, it's a kind of framework that you can work within. So you have to define, your issues yourself, and you have to address them using the framework yourself. So it's to say it's a very difficult one.
Just to encourage you along the way. Now, again, this is to encourage you if you feel that there's enough to hang on to. One thing I did find is that feeling you can't go on and actually not being able to go on are two different things.
Yeah.
I had a lot of feeling I couldn't go on. That's when I would have had, should I stay or should I go on speed dial? And I think it's really healthy to know that you could go if you want to. And sometimes when I'm working with married issues, nothing to do with drink, what I do work is to get rid of the situation where people feel that they're trapped. And this is why we work on you building up your own life and having a bit of autonomy and so I think working on your own life and knowing you could go if you needed to is a very healthy way of working on this.
As part of what excuse me, it's part of what Bottled Up does. It empowers you so that the decision's actually yours.
Yeah.
So you don't feel trapped, so that you don't feel that you are in a situation where you have no power whatsoever.
Yeah.
My situation was very different from Lou's, and my wife did leave. She walked out, and she walked out announcing that I don't love you anymore, I don't like you anymore, and I'm leaving before I hate you. And off she went. And I look back in it now, and I cannot blame her one iota. It took me quite a long time to change, and I promised so many times that I would, and then didn't. And she just had enough. She just had enough. And also, I have to say that I watched that woman go from being sort of a nice healthy weight to sort of the weight falling off her through anxiety, through stress, etc. So I can't blame her. The only thing I would say, looking back in it now, if the boot had been in the other foot, I would have been gone long before that. I wouldn't have put up with me. I definitely would not have put up with me.
So I hope you're hearing here, that our heart is to support you if you stay and support you if you go. Nobody has the right to tell you when you've had enough. I mean, I would say don't let yourself get too exhausted, because if you are going to leave the situation, then you do need energy and strength and wellness of heart to be able to do that. But if you, for example, we tell you to come out of secrecy and not do this burden alone. If you open up to your family, it's highly likely that they will immediately, because they love you so much, want to gather you up and take you away and take you out of the situation, which is really, really understandable. And maybe at that point, some of you will think, you know what, now that somebody's actually endorsing what I feel, I think I'm going to go. And if you go, you get 100% support from us. Absolutely. The only thing we would say, as you're making that decision, when you leave somebody, you go through quite a lot of stages of grief, and one of those is what they call the bargaining stage, where you get into, should I have done that? Could I have done this? Perhaps I should have hung on to the children. If you do this and you apply Bottled Up, and go. And when you get into that, should I, you can actually say to yourself, actually, I did everything I could. I did the program, I applied it, I've done everything that I possibly could to make this work, and I'm going to walk away without any shame. And that can be really quite helpful. But don't hear that as kind of a mandate to stay when actually you should be getting out. So I think to sum this up, should I stay or should I go? Nobody has the right to tell you that but you. Apply the program if you feel that the relationship is still working, if there's still a really good relationship with your children, and that love is still there, albeit a little bit broken up, then we give you the tools to stay. But if you need to go, you might find if you do share that you're really clear that you need to go, in which case we absolutely and completely support you to go. And it's a courageous and absolutely good decision to do. I was going to say, if you're married, you might go quicker than if you have a family. But actually, if you love your children and you feel they're getting really badly hurt by this, you might go quicker than if you're single. So there's no way of kind of saying that. Is there anything you want to say?
Not really. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that we cover in our other videos, that certainly are very pertinent to this, and it's important. I think, that this is always a difficult one, and and but it doesn't have to be even a permanent goal. Sometimes it can be a timeout, and there's a few people who have used this website. That's exactly what they've done. They've taken a timeout, and it has helped. It has helped. It brings the issue into some kind of focus that being there all the time hasn't, and it has helped. It's also the fact that if you're on your own for a little while, then again you learn you learn how much resilience that you have, how much resources you have within yourself. But that's what Bottled Up is trying to show you. It's trying to show you, that you have choices, that you have decisions that you can make, that you are not powerless in this situation. Regardless of whether the drinker is drinking or not drinking, you are still in control of your life. And that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And we would say we quite understand that when somebody is drinking, they come out with behaviour which is clearly abusive, some more than others. The complication in versus coercive control is that we know that isn't really the drinker. That's actually what the drink does to the person, which is why it's very hard to just say, no, this is coercive control, I'm out. Because actually it's the drink affecting the person. It's not really the real person. And I think that's why many of us stayed. Certainly was for me. Just a little practical thing here. If you're thinking of going, get some legal advice. We've got something on the website, haven't we, if you're in the UK? I don't know.
Yes, a family lawyer actually wrote a page in the website about your rights.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what it's like in other parts. I don't know what it's like in Ireland really, but certainly a lot of solicitors will give you a free half an hour, and we absolutely recommend if you can get that. Don't just try not to get to the point where you end up going in flight. If you're going to go, plan it, know what you're doing, and go and see a solicitor if you possibly can. If you have to flee. But if you can, think it through, get help. Know what you're going to do.
Yeah, the last thing I would say, I think, is that the title of this particular video is slightly misleading. As if that's the only choices, and there are many other choices within it. You can stay. Maybe sometimes, there are lots and lots of things that you can do, rather than just stay or go. So go through the program and you'll find other other options.
So the title is pretty black and white, but actually the situation is completely complex. And so there's no easy answers or right answers to this. Hope you found it helpful. Thank you for listening. Check in again soon. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye. Okay.